Visiting Hours by C.A. Wynn. A beautiful view, this vista had become his. Virtually, at least. Aqil Senectus had looked out upon this scene for nearly 4 decades. Each evening he worked his way from the dining hall to this platform. When he could no longer walk, he wheeled himself out. When his arms could propel him no further, an orderly did the work. Since then, technology had advanced enough for the chair to move itself. He only needed to look in the direction he wanted to go, and he arrived. The windows overlooking Neath Crater did not just offer a view of Ganymede's surface. Above this were Jupiter, Callisto, Io, Europa, and several recognizable stars. There, he pointed. That damn light was Betelgeuse. Aqil looked around to find himself alone. Long ago, there had always been someone in earshot. That was no longer the case. In fact, he couldn't remember the last time someone came out here with him. Of course, he could hardly remember what he had for dinner on any given evening. His mind was sharp enough, but it no longer stored short-term memories as well as it used to. There was a time when the orderlies would accompany him out. With fewer residents, there were fewer orderlies. It wasn't like he made it worth their while. Aqil rarely had anything nice to say. Some of that came naturally. What didn't was a byproduct of being the last of the last. All the others had either relocated or faded away. This long-term care facility was one of the 3 that initially served residents of the Jovian settlements. Having helped build the station on Ganymede, he had a stake in the system. In fact, he was its oldest living resident in its oldest institution. Like Aqil, the facility's age was showing. Having long ago built onto it, the administration wanted to close this wing. They twice tried to move him to better accommodations. The first time, they succeeded, only for him to sneak back. The second time, he barricaded himself in his room. They were engaged in their 3rd attempt, waiting for either time or loneliness to break him. To that, he'd told the current administrator, "I've been sleeping in this room since before you was born." They had yet to see any progress on the current strategy. Despite newer construction, the entire facility would be closed before long. There would be no more silent views of Jupiter and its dancing partners, at least not from Neath Crater. Aqil had no intention of dying anywhere but here, so he didn't really give a damn about their plans. Some days, the only voice he heard was his own. He didn't count the voice of his chair. The staff used it to communicate with him, but it didn't serve for conversation. He'd grown to like things being this way. He didn't have to be nice to a chair. Aqil would sit in his room for hours, reading, mostly, sleeping, remembering, forgetting. When he couldn't take the silence, he would shout or start a monologue. His voice no longer had the same timbre, but it could still echo down the hall. All he needed was to try hard enough. "Mr. Senectus," his chair said to him, "time for your nightly medicine." "Shove it up your ass." It was one of his standard responses. He had 3 or 4 of them. This one was his signal to the staff that he intended to be out late. They would monitor him anyway. Sometimes out late actually meant out early. He only had so much control over how long he could stay awake. "Betelgeuse," he said again to no one. "Couldn't just die off. Had to leave a mark, block out half the galaxy." His dinner had come with a small chocolate pudding. Despising their dessert, he hurled the container at the window. Its remnants blotted out the light that was once Betelgeuse. It was hardly the first time. An automated drone flew into action, cleaning up his mess. Another drone flew through the door at the end of the observation deck. It moved in silence along the single vast window. The benches and tables beneath it sat empty in the failing light. The staff had stopped bothering with maintenance years ago. Aqil was okay with that. He preferred the dark. This drone carried several cups of pills for his consumption. It rushed up upon him and hovered within reach. Staring at it, he cursed under his breath. How many hundreds of times had he sworn not to take his nightly dose? Each time, he cursed again and worked his way through the myriad pills and potions. Its task complete, the drone flew off to the far end of the deck, disappearing into the hall. In its wake, the air was unsettled. He closed his eyes, feeling the light eddies of turbulence as they dissipated. Turning, he looked out to the gas giant. He sat silent for nearly an hour before his chair startled him. "Mr. Senectus, you have a visitor." "I told you to shove it," Aqil barked. "The caller claims to be your great-granddaughter," the chair voice said. "How is that even possible?" Aqil asked. The chair fell silent. "Send her away." He wondered if he was imagining the whole exchange. He hadn't had a visitor in so long that it hardly seemed believable. "Mr. Senectus, she came all the way from Earth," the voice said. "She came all the way from somewhere," Aqil said. "Yes, sir, we think you should see her," the voice said. "This is a joke, right?" Aqil asked. "No, sir," the voice said. Curling his lip, he turned the chair to look toward the door. "Well, send her out here. I can sure as hell tell her to leave. Don't care if she came all the way from Andromeda." It was several minutes before a young woman in her mid-20s entered. Looking around uncertainly, she smiled when her eyes landed on him. She strolled in, turning her face to take in the grand vista. As she neared, she turned her head to him, a broad smile on her face. Bending down, she wrapped her arms around him. "Grandfather," she gushed. He recoiled. "Who the hell are you?" She stepped away, leaving the scent of her perfume around him. A pretty woman, she had a fresh face and wore a bright blue dress. "Yes, sorry, I wanted to surprise you, though I thought you might recognize me," she said. "Are you joking?" he asked. "Oh, I didn't mean we'd met," she said. "Maybe when I was very small, but I do favor my mother, your granddaughter." His face soured. "Any idea how long it's been since I saw her?" The woman swallowed hard, lowering her head. "Well, I wish it wasn't very long ago, but I'm afraid it has been, hasn't it?" He looked her up and down. "You know I have nothing, right? I'm broke, dry as a bone. I'm only here because the people of Ganymede pay to keep this place going. So if it's money you're after, I ain't got any." The young woman's eyes grew wide. "Oh no, grandfather, I'm not here for money." "It's been decades since my last visitor," he said. "Decades. You walk in and claim you're not looking for money? I find that hard to believe." She looked around the room, her eyes pausing on the gas giant in the distance. "Well, I am sad to hear you've had no one come to see you." "What do you know about it?" he asked. "Grandfather, I only came to visit. I'm very sorry. Maybe I should have let you know. I wasn't sure if you'd agree to see me." She stared at him, bowing her head further. "I can go if you'd like." Aqil considered letting her leave. He'd been without companionship for so long, he no longer needed it. He was perfectly fine alone. Like the moon he called home, he'd become accustomed to solitude. Despite this, he felt compelled to learn what her visit was about. "So why did you come all this way if it's not for money?" She rose and pointed to the closest bench. "Mind if I sit?" "Do what you like. I don't own the place," he said. The young woman walked over and sat, spreading her dress evenly around her. Aqil watched until she settled, then turned his chair back toward Jupiter. They sat in silence for so long that he almost forgot she was there. She finally broke the silence. "Is this your favorite place to sit?" "That light there," he said, pointing toward the sky just below the planet. A large, bright spot of light shone in the middle of the parade of stars known as the Milky Way. "That used to be Betelgeuse." "Was that a star?" she asked. "It was a star, and then it wasn't. Now it's just a bright light of gas and death," he said. I never knew, she said. Before you were born, before your mother was born. I was just a kid then, he said. Did you see it explode? She asked. 660-something years later, he said. It's that far away? She asked. Too far to visit, he said. Well, not anymore, she said. You could go there. You could visit it if you wanted to. Ain't nothing there now. Damn light blocks out the galaxy. Ruins everything, he said. The young woman turned and looked out the window. I see what you mean. You got a name? Aqil asked. She smiled at him. Danica Clement. Most people call me Dani. Don't know any Clements, so you can't be my kin, he said. Well, my grandmother had your name until she married. Then my mother married a Clement. He's my father, she said. I know how names work, he said. Not every woman does that anymore, taking their husband's name. It used to be more common, she said. Things were simpler then, he said. Dani's lips spread into a thin smile. Perhaps. So, why did you come out here? It can't be to hear me ramble on about supernovas, he said. If that's what you want to talk about, grandfather, we certainly can. You know I don't trust that grandfather business, he said. Dani shook her head and looked out the window. I wasn't sure what I should call you. I thought great-grandfather was too much, but I wanted to be respectful. It is too much, Aqil said. Nothing great about me. You can tell by how many people come to visit. He gestured with his arms. I'm still alive because of good genes and low gravity. What's great about that? He looked more closely at Dani, the memory of her mother surfacing. Her nose was bigger. Too big. Dani's eyes narrowed. Too big? How can you say that about your own granddaughter? How do you think that would make her feel? He took her piercing stare, held it like a thin rope. Maybe you are her daughter. Still doesn't explain why you're here. Dani turned toward the celestial scene. He couldn't tell if it was anger or sadness that animated her deliberate breaths. Well, she finally said, I was hoping to get to know you. All I know about you is what my mother has told me. She's getting old. Here it comes, he said with a laugh. I knew she wanted something. She didn't send me, if that's what you think, Dani snapped. As her gaze fell on his weathered face, her eyes softened. I'm getting worried about her. She's getting more and more difficult. I don't understand it. She was always so carefree, so pleasant to be around. You traveled all the way out here for that? So what? She's getting cantankerous. Did you come here to see how bad it will get? He asked. Dani grimaced. No, of course not. But you are her only surviving ancestor. What about her mother? He asked. Granny Callie? Have you forgotten? She's been dead for so long now. He wasn't sure if he'd forgotten. Maybe he knew, once. Searching his memories, he found nothing. His daughter was dead? His only child. How could that be? He'd been waiting for her to return. Now he knew she wouldn't, couldn't. He'd waited so long. A tension grew in his forehead, a heaviness pressing down. It was remotely familiar, a feeling he'd had before, so long ago. It made his head feel leaden, his eyes cloud over. A darkness fell upon him like an encroaching fog. His hand moved involuntarily to his face, wiping moisture from the corner of his eye. Dani's hand moved to her mouth. Oh, you didn't know? I'm so sorry, grandfather. I had no idea. The young woman rushed over to him. Kneeling before his chair, she grabbed hold of the hand in his lap, gently squeezing. He looked down, seeing his long, frail fingers protruding from her warm, soft hands. He wiped at his face with the back of his hand before he pushed her away. Why do you need forgiveness? Did you kill her? Her face softened. Thinking she might cry, he waved her away. Go back to sitting over there. It was easier when you weren't talking. She stood slowly, using the tissue to dab at the corners of her eyes. If I had known. As she backed up, she kept her eyes trained on him. He wished she would turn and walk away, leave him alone. Instead, she backed into the bench and sat. You were waiting for her, but she never came. How did she die? He asked. Dani pulled another tissue from her pocket, dabbing at the corner of her eye. I don't know for sure. My mother told me it was an accident. I was just a child. With hands clasped together in his lap, he turned and looked out the window. His chin trembled as his eyes fell to the faint light of Callisto. How many hours had he watched it travel in the distance? How many years had he waited to talk to his daughter about the moon that bore her name? Grandfather? She asked. He sneered at her. Why are you still here? Tears welled up in her eyes. I came to visit. So you say. Brought me a dead daughter for my trouble, he said. She endured his stare, her tears ebbing. In her hands, he could see the wadded tissue, her fingers working it ever smaller. He couldn't help but think of his daughter, her grandmother, and how she stood up to him. Their battles were many, and he regretted most of them. Why had he been so hard on her? Dani dabbed again at her face as she turned her head from him. She scanned the sky. Can you tell me about Beetlejuice? Beetlejuice? I already told you about that, he said. Well, you said it exploded. Before that, what was it like? She asked. It was a star, like every other star, he said. Like ours? She asked. No, it was much bigger than that, he said. Really? And why was that? She asked. What are you getting at, young lady? I just thought it was important to you. Maybe you would talk more about it, she said. What more is there to say? You could learn anything you want about it from reading, he said. I wanted to know what it meant to you. Aqil sneered. What does any of that matter? It matters to you, doesn't it? She asked. Missy, I've been sitting here watching this giant planet spin for decades. What I think of it don't mean a damn thing, he said. No, not the planet, Dani said. Maybe not to anyone else. But it means something to you, otherwise you wouldn't have spent all that time watching. I sat here. His voice faltered. He felt the pain return to his forehead, the heaviness. He grabbed the sides of his chair and squeezed. I waited. She stood again, rushing to him. Falling at his feet, she wrapped her arms around his legs. She sobbed, her head pressed against him. His hand dropped to the top of her head. He looked out on the celestial scene, choking back insistent tears. It had been so long, he wasn't aware he could feel so deeply anymore. The years of waiting, of watching, had slipped by. They were decades of that damned star and its glorious aftermath, a bright light in the darkness. And this young woman appears, wantonly opens those wounds. Who is she to expect him to crumble for her, to succumb to tears long ago dismissed? What does she want from him that he hasn't already given? He cried, years of grief flowing from him. The sobs overtook him, followed by darkness. When he woke, he found her seated nearby. She had moved him closer to the bench. How long had he been asleep? She brightened up as he looked her way. She was young, beautiful, and vibrant. He tried to remember her mother. The last time he'd seen his granddaughter was so long ago. Feeling better? She finally asked. Is that why you came here? To make an old man cry? He asked. She searched his eyes. I told you, I came here to learn about my mother. Not sure how I can help. Don't know the woman, he said. Well, as I said, she used to be carefree, easy to get along with, Dani said. Maybe she's not my granddaughter after all, he said. Raising her eyebrows, Dani frowned. If this is too painful for you, I can come back. Another opportunity to send her on her way. Aqil squinted, studying her face. No, you've already hurt me all you can. Let's get this over with. Don't need you coming back. What's this about your mother? Make it quick. Dani sighed. It was recent when I noticed it. We were talking about her mother. We were talking about you. Me? Why would you waste your time doing that? He asked. She told me things about you and Granny Callie. She said the two of you fought. Yeah, what of it? He asked. Well, I guess I wanted to understand that more, she said. What's to understand? He asked. I ain't never been easy to get along with. Your grandmother was the same. It's a family thing. Probably just now showing up in your mother. One day it'll be you. Did she tell you why we named her mom Callisto? I guess it had to do with the moon, she said. That's right. My little girl grew up watching that moon. Then she left me alone with it. Ran off with some man she met. Don't mean anything now, he spat. The young woman offered a smile. But it does mean something. It means she hurt you, and you still miss her. Aqil slapped at the air. Nothing to be done about it. Dani looked to the sky again. Which one's Callisto? Aqil gestured with his head. And you called her Callie? She asked. That was her mom's doing, he said. Lowering her gaze, Dani took in a breath. When she left, what did you do? I said good riddance, he said. But you didn't mean it, she said. Of course I meant it, he said. Dani looked into his eyes. If you meant it, why did you wait so long? Aqil screwed up his face. Think you know it all, don't you? Just like her. There's your family resemblance. Is there anything you would say to her now that you wish you had said back then? She asked. He closed his eyes and tilted his head. In his mind, he hurled epithets at the young woman, the faintest echoes of Callie in her face. He wouldn't give her the satisfaction of hearing any of them. When he opened his eyes, he stared daggers at his great-granddaughter. Dani bit her lip. Anything at all? I'm not her, but I'm here and I can listen. Aqil said nothing, motioning with his head for the chair to turn toward Callisto. His mind stepped through the many arguments, the shouting, the anger. They sat this way for nearly an hour, a gulf of silence growing between them. When she finally released a long exhale, she seemed miles away. Maybe I should go, she said, rising. Maybe you should, he said. He didn't turn to look. Instead, he studied the craters of Callisto that he couldn't possibly see. As the sound of her footsteps faded into the distance, he reached for his face. A tear had found its way from the corner of his eye. He was alone again with his vista and that damned Beetlejuice. End of Visiting Hours by C.A.Wynn.